Hey, welcome to We Need to Talk. I'm your host, Tony Lindsay, and I just wanted to get on here briefly to have a little heart to heart conversation with my buddies on the liberal left side. You know, I'm an independent. I'm neither right nor left. I'm just common sense. And I just wanted to take this time to introduce a common sense or a conversation. I'm trying to extract some common sense from the current discourse that has been very polarizing and uh, actually pretty divisive on both sides. So, in this segment, I want to appeal to the common sense of my Democrat voter friends, the vote blue, no matter who people, many of whom are celebrating the recent nomination. Well, endorsement, whatever you want to call it, of Kamala Harris, where she basically, from what I hear, has all more than enough pledged delegates to give her the nomination. However, the problem here is that no one voted for Kamala Harris because there were no primaries. There were no real primaries. There were no debates, and the primary process was pretty much glazed over to pretty much hand Joe Biden, the incumbent, the nomination. Now, even though that process was, in my opinion, extremely undemocratic, now that Joe Biden has been somehow magically convinced not to run, while many speculate it's because he was probably threatened by the invocation of the 25th Amendment. But now that he has decided to step down, he has endorsed Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee. And everyone, as far as the Democrat insiders and the donors, everyone seems to be coalescing and now falling in line with Kamala Harris. However, there is a problem. The voters did not vote for Kamala Harris. And there are many people who are upset because this sends a terrible message to Democrat voters that their votes do not count. Now, there are many people, many in the Black community for years, who have always had this very strong position, this pushback to many of the influential leadership in the Black community. These people have always said to those folks, listen, we know you're always telling us vote or die, get out and vote, and voters' rights and all of that. So if that's the case, how do you just circumvent the voters and you just choose someone based on the party insiders, the elite, the donors, whoever it is? How do you just walk straight around the voters and just decide, hey, this is going to be the nominee? I think that's pretty undemocratic. Now, some people may say, oh, Tony, well, you sound like a Trump supporter to say that. What type of position is that? Well, let's take a look at that, because I'm not the only person who said that. Let's see who else shares my position. Look at that. Joseph R. Biden. Well, let's read what Joseph R. Biden had to say on the issue. He says, let's go to the middle of the page. This is the letter that Joe Biden wrote when everyone was trying to force him out of the primary and tell him, hey, Joe, get out of here. And he kept saying, listen, the Democrat elite, they're trying to get me out, but we're not going to circumvent the will of the people. The people voted me here, and there's no way you're going to stop me. Remember, for weeks, Joe Biden was saying, no, I am not dropping out. Up until I think the very weekend that he dropped out, he was saying, no, I am not dropping out. Then magically, he dropped out. So let's read what Joe Biden says. Joe Biden says, we had a democratic nomination process, and the voters have spoken clearly and decisively. Let me make it bigger for you. Can I make it bigger? I'm sorry. I guess I can't make it bigger. Where did I say? I received over 14 million votes, 87% of the votes cast across the entire nominating process. I have received over 14 million. I'm sorry. I have nearly 3,900 delegates making me the presumptive nominee of our party by a wide margin. This was a process open to anyone who wanted to run. Only 3 people chose to challenge me. One fared so badly that he left the primaries to run as an independent. Now, we know that he's talking about RFK, obviously. But, I mean, come on, that's kind of disingenuous when you say, oh, he fared so badly that he left. Listen, you guys, like, blocked him from participating in any debates, and you did a media blackout. And those who did dare to mention him, you did this 24/7 smear campaign to label him as an anti-vaxxer and a racist and an anti-Semite, when actually he's like the biggest Israeli apologist on the planet. But that's neither here nor there. So he says, another attacked me for being too old and was soundly defeated. I think that was, my gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. He was kind of inconsequential. And the voters of the Democratic Party have voted. Hey, wait a minute. What about Marianne Williamson? But anyway, he says they have chosen. No, but listen to this. He says the voters of the Democratic Party have voted. They have chosen me to be the nominee of the party. Do we now just say this process didn't matter? That the voters don't have a say? I decline to do that. I feel a deep obligation to the faith and the trust of the voters of the Democratic Party that have placed in me to run this year. It was their decision to make, not the press, not the pundits, not the big donors, not any selected group of individuals, no matter how well-intentioned. The voters, and the voters alone, decide the nominee of the Democratic Party. How can we stand for democracy in our nation if we ignore it in our own party? I cannot do that, and I will not do that. That's Joe Biden just a couple of weeks ago. What has changed? Are we saying that Joe Biden was full of shit with all of those things that he said, or was it true? Where is the media on this? Where is AOC on this? All of the people who were supporting Joe Biden staying in the race for those very reasons that he explained in that letter. So now the voters mean nothing? Here's another little segment from, what's her name? Karine Jean-Pierre, Joe Biden's press secretary. Let's hear what she has to say about this.
Where we are as a country. Let's not forget, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake, guys.
They're not kidding.
Our democracy is at stake.
Our democracy is at stake.
A woman's right to choose and to make decisions on their own bodies at stake. You know, and let me
people's incomes
are at stake. There's so much voting rights is at stake. And
Hold on. Voting rights is at stake. Voting rights is at stake. Is she gaslighting you? I mean, are we going to ignore what was just said? Do you think that voting rights, your rights as a voter are being protected by the Democrat donors and the party insiders deciding for you that the person that you voted for is not going to be the nominee? My question is this: what about all the folks who voted for Joe Biden but donated to Joe Biden's campaign, but they had no intention or desire to see Kamala Harris as their nominee? Do those people get their money back? Like, how does that go? Because you've just forced those people into accepting a candidate that they didn't ask for. And yet we're supposed to just, shut up and be silent and just revel in the fact that, first Black woman and, this accomplishment, this achievement, while not looking at her record and not looking at the chance that she even has to beat Donald Trump, which is slim to none. And the last thing that I actually want to show you guys here, because to me it's just crazy. Hold on. I'm still trying to figure out. Oh, I did it. Oh, cool. All right, yeah. Been trying to learn this little software here, and I'm getting it. So now let's hear from some of those same Democrat donors that Joe Biden was saying, we're not listening to these guys. These guys are the ones that, we don't want those people to circumvent the voters. So here is John Morgan, who is a Democrat mega donor to the Biden campaign. And let's see what he says. He says, you have to be enthusiastic or hoping for a political appointment to be asking friends for money. I am neither. It's others' turns now. Uh-oh, sounds like he's giving up. He said the donors holding the 90 million can release those funds in the morning. It's all yours. You can keep my million and good luck. Sounds like he's tapping out. If you look below that, it's showing you. Let's see, why did he say that? Major Biden donor John Morgan tells ABC News he won't fundraise for Harris if she's the nominee. Quote, if Trump world could pick anybody to run against, I think they would pick her. And I agree. I absolutely agree. So the question is it okay to break the rules in order to protect it? Is it okay to take away democracy in order to fight for democracy? How do you reckon with that contradiction? Because that's a very real question, and that's a major reason why people are not falling in line behind this Kamala Harris nomination. Because, for one, she is extremely unpopular, and she's been largely disappeared for the last 3.5 years. And while her record is very slim to none, the things that she does have on her record are not complimentary, especially to a presidential race. So I would say to my vote blue no matter who friends out there who are celebrating this nomination, who are celebrating Kamala Harris being the Democrat nominee and the symbolism of it, first Black woman, I would warn you to be careful, because if you're willing to break the rules, or if you're okay with breaking the rules, just as long as the result was something that you liked, just think about it the next time someone breaks the rules and it yields a result that you don't like. Because in this moment, you're setting a dangerous precedent of breaking the rules and undermining the will of the American people, and specifically the Democrat voters. They're watching, and they're not stupid. They see what's going on, and they are not happy. So everything that we're seeing online from all of these news pundits, the legacy media, and all of these hired DNC campaigners, influencers on TikTok and on Instagram, that's not truly reflective of the public sentiment of the American people. And people are rightfully outraged by this. And I warn you all, do not allow these people to take away the freedoms that are essential to keeping you, the voter, involved in the process. Because if you do that, you're really not fighting for anything. One of the major issues that Democrats fight for, especially for Black people, is voters' rights. They're always fighting for voters' rights. Well, my question is, were your voters' rights respected right now in this process? Did any of you get the opportunity to decide who you wanted to vote for besides Joe Biden? And if you haven't, then you would be a hypocrite to talk about Democrats trying to protect your voters' rights. Now, that's just logic. That's just facts. And that's just a little bit of common sense. I'm Tony Lindsay, and we need to talk. Peace.